Good evening and welcome to the Dollar Dogs and Beer podcast. I am your host Andrew, and joining me tonight is my buddy Joe. How you doing tonight, Joe?
I can't complain too much. I mean, I'm you know pleased with some progress with my boys, but I have a lot of other consternations. So I at least I didn't play the Marlins this weekend. Let's put it that way. Or this weekend. That's your guys' next one. So
Yeah,
at
I'm
least
not
I don't
looking.
play them. How about you? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. It's baseball wise, it's been an interesting week. I mean, it's like the Braves can't quite get into a groove yet, but I'm not really completely surprised. The lineup's going to change around and get to what it's supposed to be once Acuna's back in about 2 weeks anyway. So, slowish start for the Braves. I'm not really that worried about. I am happy our start isn't as bad as what Philadelphia went through this past week, which I should note that Jason is on the 1 week IL. He's having some back issues tonight. This wonderfully crappy, cold, rainy Pennsylvania weather is bothering him tonight. So he might be popping in on the comments, but he won't be live with us tonight. Joe,
He's
what?
he's day to day like Mike Trout is right now. That's for sure. Except I believe that Jason's going to be day to day. I don't know about Mike Trout.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you never know with Trout anymore. Day to day turns into month to week, month to month, pretty damn quick. It seems
Sure
like.
does.
Joe, what are you drinking tonight?
I've got a two for tonight, Andrew. I'm drinking Shock Top because I'm shocked at the my Cubbies are leading most offensive categories and they're above 500 going into tonight's game. So I'm shocked at that. But I'm also going with the Yingling too. It's my old reliable, more reliable than my manager managing pitchers.
Oh, I cannot wait for the David Ross rant forthcoming when we get to the Cubs section. Which, for the record, I did bump you up first tonight because I can't not. And tonight I'm going with an old classic. I'm going with a Kraken and Pepsi because I'm out of beer and I forgot to stop at the store on my way home. So we're drinking liquor tonight.
You're just preparing yourself for the disappointment of the weekend when you play the Marlins. So
Well, I mean, that is a definite possibility, and one which, while I don't want to acknowledge could happen, I will acknowledge could happen. All right, so let's hop into this. So last Friday we had our Jackie Robinson Day. It's a yearly occurrence that's been happening on 4/15 to commemorate and honor the day he made his major league debut, breaking the color barrier. Now everybody in MLB wears his number 42, and this year they did it in Dodger blue, which I thought looked really, really nice because he played for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Bud Selig did a lot of really, really terrible things as commissioner of baseball. This is actually one of the things he nailed. He started Jackie Robinson Day back in 2004. Initially, it was only celebrated in 13 ballparks. By the next season, it was celebrated in every ballpark. Back in '97, that's when MLB retired 42 league wide. Two notable guys wore 42 after that. Mariano Rivera, he had it before they retired it and just wore it until he retired. And then Ken Griffey Jr. back in 2007, he actually applied for special permission to wear Jackie's number on Jackie Robinson Day, and he was granted that permission by Bud Selig, so that was pretty cool. By about 2009, every player and coach was wearing 42 for Jackie Robinson Day. And I believe this was 75 years. Is that right?
yeah, 75 years this year. So
On one hand, it's really encouraging because you look at the diversity in Major League Baseball today, and it's a wonderful thing. And then on the flip side, it's not nearly enough. How many African American managers do we have? Are we down to just Dave Robinson now? I can't. Ron Washington. He's a third base coach. There are other African American coaches in the league, but I think isn't Dave the only? I think Dave's the
he
only
might
manager right now.
he might be at the moment, but I know there's been some times where there's been more than
Oh,
one. I think it's just a bit
Dusty,
of a
Dusty.
dusty.
How can we
So
forget about Dusty?
there's at least two right now. And it's sort of an ebb and flow. I'm sure that'll go back up here soon.
I hope it does.
I
I
think
really do.
some of that talent is really working its way up the coaching ranks, and I think they'll get there pretty soon. I think.
Jason's comments that he sent in to us before the show for Jackie Robinson, he also loved that they went with the Dodger blue. Prior years, they kept it with each team's colors. He thinks it's because of the 75th anniversary. They did Dodgers blue, but he'd love to see it stay that way moving forward. And I wholeheartedly agree with Jason on that one.
For
It
sure.
looked really good on the field,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, and I think I don't. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the 42 signs that hang in all the ballparks are they in Dodger blue or are they in a team color?
Pretty sure it's Dodger blue.
So then I
Just
don't see why
differentiate
they
it.
don't just keep it that way for all of this.
I hope they do. It would look really nice if they would, honestly. There's something special about seeing it every year on April 15th. So, yeah, hopefully hopefully baseball will see, hey, this is a good idea and continue it in the future. And just so everybody knows, Jason is hopping in on the comments. Good to have you on there at least, Jason. Hope your back feels better, bud. All right. So some news that broke last week, actually right after we were done recording, or the next day after we were done recording, there were 3 lawsuits filed against Dodger Stadium security. The complaint was that the security forces were committing acts of violence against multiple, quote, passionate, supportive baseball fans during the 2021 season. Security officers allegedly perpetrate acts of assault, battery, false imprisonment, civil rights violations, and emotional distress. The first alleged incident occurred August 17th in a game versus the Pirates. Salvador Mota and his wife Marie were preparing to leave the stadium when he was asked to exit his vehicle by security officers, then subsequently assaulted and battered by non-sworn and off-duty security employees dressed in dark polo shirts. Mota was taken to a hospital and treated for severe facial, eye, shoulder, and leg injuries. Photographs showed multiple abrasions on his face and swelling of his left foot. The second alleged incident happened on 9/14 against the Diamondbacks. Karen Osorio was at the game with her family when a person, quote, described as a uniformed LAPD Dodgers employee, violently grabbed cell phones from her daughter's friends, and grandson and accused them of conducting unspecified illegal activities. Osorio questioned the officers, was then surrounded by security and attacked as her family watched. She was handcuffed and arrested, but there were no criminal charges filed. Photographs showed bruising and abrasions on her face, abrasions on her arm, bruising on her chest, and a large abrasion near her knee. The third incident happened October 3rd against the Brewers. Adam and Monica Vila were at the game with their daughter when security approached Adam with, quote, complaints of enthusiastic language. So he was dropping F-bombs. Vila agreed to stop using the language, but was soon surrounded and attacked by 6 security officers. A 2-minute video was provided to the LA Times showing the moments leading to the incident, during which security officers can be heard asking the family to leave. Quote, they told him not to cuss and he stopped. A woman could be heard nearby telling the officers in the video. They said, we got called over here because fans were complaining about profanity. They added that a code of conduct printed on the back of game tickets served as an effective warning for Vila's behavior. Not that anybody has physical tickets anymore, but we'll get past that. We're not trying to have a big scene. When an officer touches Adam Vila's shoulder, he appears to flinch and then he's quickly forced to the ground. At least one officer can be seen hitting him repeatedly. Adam Vila suffered head, neck, and back injuries, his attorney said, and photographs taken after the incident showed large chunks of hair pulled from his head. Monica Vila was also reportedly injured in the altercation. Photographs showed her with a cut lip and abrasions on her legs. This is bad. This is really, really, really bad. A lot of this goes back to the Brian Stowe incident way back in 2011. He was a San Francisco Giants fan at the game, and 2 Dodgers fans. They just absolutely brutally beat this guy outside the stadium. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to be spending the rest of his life in a wheelchair, needing basically 24-hour care after that. And a lawsuit at the time from the family of Brian Stowe did find the Dodgers partially accountable as well, so they stepped up security after that. But, it seems like they may have gone a bit too far. The plaintiff's attorney, Peter Donato, said, quote, there's a point in time when the Dodger organization has to step up to the plate, no pun intended, and be responsible. They need to change the culture of bullies. Joe, this is disgusting.
It's terrible, honestly. I think there's a way to be measured, and this is not it. With security, I think that the Brian Stowe incident, I remember that pretty vividly. It was kind of,
Mhm.
it was after, they were playing each other. It was down to the wire, I think, in like August or September, and it was, one of those rivalry games, and just it was. I think it was after the game, if I'm not mistaken. It was like seventh, eighth inning or something like that. And it's just like, too many fans of sporting events treat their ticket as a license to do whatever the hell they want to, which is just, you know, buying a ticket and being able to go to the stadium is a privilege. Don't be a dumbass. There's limits. Obviously, you're gonna see, fans get rowdy before they go into games. We've seen it. We've done it as college kids.
Mhm.
But there comes a point where you have to be reasonable and act like a responsible adult, not act like, you know, your ticket's a license to do anything. That being said, what the Dodgers have done, or at least are accused of doing, is just ridiculous. It's stupid. It's moronic. There has to be a line somewhere, and clearly Dodgers security has crossed that line more than once, at least from what we've read and seen. So
Yeah, and I actually pulled up. I normally go to like national sports outlets, MLB.com, ESPN.com, SI.com when I'm pulling up, the fun little what happened in the last week of baseball. This I actually went directly to the LA Times and pulled the article up on there, and they have the pictures of the victims after the fact and not. It's horrific, man.
yeah,
It's Oh my god, especially the first guy. He was in a neck brace for a while. His face is all swelled and bruised up. He's got abrasions all over his face. It's this the Dodgers need to do something about this, and they need to do something about this quickly. This is not a case where you let the court system play out. And no, I'm
no, I
sorry.
think I think you have to get ahead of this. You have to not get ahead of it because it's already out there. But I'm saying
You need to make immediate
you have to
change.
you have to you have to make some changes before this gets to court, because uh, um, otherwise you look like you're being forced to do something as opposed to deciding to do something and make it a different direction and take a different direction with security. Um, this kind of makes me wonder how many other teams are like this and we just don't know about it.
Yeah,
Depending on the stadium, um, you know, um, it really is just disgusting, and I hope, you know they make some moves to be proactive and hold themselves accountable, and really make a change for the better,
yeah.
so that, the experience at the ballpark is not one where these kind of stories happen, and then the experience at the ballpark is what movies and baseball nuts like us romanticize it to be, and it
Exactly.
needs to stay that way.
Exactly. Honestly, I really hope MLB comes down hard on the Dodgers if they don't quickly make changes. Like, this is a case where Rob Manfred needs to wield the power of the commissioner of baseball and say, you need to make changes now. This is horrible for the image of our game, and this needs to be dealt with immediately. Like, this is like, even to the point where you levy fines on the franchise, you take draft picks away, that kind of thing. Like, as much as we hate Roger Goodell, because everybody hates Roger Goodell, he would have already levied, he already would have levied the max fine against the franchise and probably taken away at least a third round draft pick. If it was the Patriots, he would have taken a second or first round draft pick because it's the Patriots.
I honestly, if Roger Goodell were the commissioner of the major leagues, this would have been dealt with before it became a news story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Um, And Jason, you're right. It's absolutely horrifying. The Dodgers need to be held accountable, and they need to be more proactive. 100% agreement, bud. I saw those pictures. I read that article. Chills. Honest to God, chills. It's terrible. Anything else for you from that, Joe? Before we hop on.
nope.
All right. So now for what is which is probably going to be the absolute most controversial thing we will cover this week. Clayton Kershaw was rolling against the Twins. Like the Twins could do absolutely nothing against it. In fact, he had a perfect game going through 7 innings and 80 pitches with 13 strikeouts, I might add. Dave Roberts pulled him. Now, this was Kershaw's season debut after an abbreviated spring training, and let's remember he had an injury-shortened season last year. I think I read he didn't even pick up a baseball and start working out until like January or February because he was recovering. Robert said, quote, "I'd like to think that we're all fans of baseball. I know I am, and so fans want to see great moments. I absolutely understand that. Clayton wants to see a great moment for himself personally, but I can't manage a ball club and players with my fan cap on." And the next day, Kershaw said, quote, "At the end of the day, in the moment, it felt like the right decision." Not because, if you would have asked him this like 10 years ago, no, he would have gone off. "There's no way of knowing the risk I faced. I could have thrown 9 innings and been fine for the rest of the season. I could have thrown 2 innings and be hurt the next day. Nobody knows, but in the moment, I felt like that was the right call for my personal health, the best interest of the team, and me being ready in October. It all seemed like the right call at the time." This is the second time actually that old Dave Roberts has done this. Back in 2016, he also pulled Rich Hill from a perfect game bid. I think also after 7 innings as well. Joe, what do you think?
Absolute horse shit by Dave Roberts. Let's get this ball rolling. I mean, seriously, he could make his next start, sometime this week, throw his elbow out, and he could have had a perfect game and thrown his elbow out. Like, if I'm a major league player at his stage in his career, I want give me both. Give me the perfect game and the blown elbow, not just a blown elbow. Um, a couple of games in, I think, uh, again, we talked about this before the season started that this short spring training was going to cause a lot of interesting decisions and a lot of injuries, which we'll get to. Um, to me, Kershaw is saying what he has to say because the older Kershaw is a team player and understands that, you know, you can't piss off the manager at this point in your career. But this is just as stupid as something I heard Dave Ross say earlier. Like I heard in a broadcast over the weekend, they were talking about, you know, guys getting pulled like before they qualify for a win or something like that. And apparently Ross said at one point, "It's not my job to get pitchers wins. It's my job to get team wins." Yeah, fine. But guess what? Those two are not mutually exclusive. Usually, if the pitcher gets a win, your team gets a win. So with this one, I think, Kershaw being Kershaw and not having this much time left, you'd have to pull me off the field. This is stupid. Um, I have a chance to have one of what 24 perfect games in the history of the game, and you're gonna pull me in the seventh when I'm mowing down hitters. I could see if he was struggling, and I could see too if it wasn't a perfect game anymore and it was just a no hitter because he's had one of those before, I think, and they happen more often. I mean, we had what 9 or 10 last year, so I could see if it was that, and hey, he gives up a hit. Okay, fine, it's time to pull him. But when a man's got something like that going on, this reeks of like um, Comiskey pulling one of his pitchers out of a 30th start of the season, so that he doesn't have to pay him more money. This is bullshit.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I wholeheartedly agree. I was just enjoying the rant as it went along. Jason, I do not know what Rich Hill's pitch count was in that game. It may have been higher. And we saw this too with the Mets a few years ago. They let Johan Santana run up like 134 pitches to complete the only no-hitter in Mets franchise history, which, considering Tom Seaver pitched for them, is surprising. And we saw what happened to Johan afterwards. He was not the same pitcher for the rest of the year. But here's the thing: it was 80 pitches. Jason, your notes from the original Facebook post we threw up there. Quote, for me, this is a fireable offense. I would have gone out in the mound, sat down, and gone dead weight. They'd have to physically remove me from that game. Dominic Matillo agreed with you on that one, Jason. Tyler Schickel, he brings up the point Kershaw and Roberts brought up. They're trying to save him for the postseason. I know it's game 6 or 7, but if he pitches like this every game, then his arm will be blown out come postseason like every other year. Yeah, Jason, I'm not surprised you stand by it. I would stand by that too. And then again, I don't know if it was me. I can't remember which of the three of us responded to this one. It might have been Jason as well. For the postseason, that's 150 games away. He's not going to pitch like this all season. Unless he's hurt, there's no excuse for pulling him from a perfect game once in a career moment at 80 pitches. Again. And like I said, it was Jason. Of course it was. And again, Tyler does make a good point. When you have a history of being hurt, not making it through the whole season, save his arm for the games that matters. He will get there again. Again, I know, Tyler, I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying. He has the injury history and all of that. I'm not pulling him. It's Clayton Kershaw. I know he's already going to go to the Hall of Fame someday, but there just aren't that many perfect games. You let the man have a chance. He's only at 80 pitches. If he struggles through the 8th inning, or if he had struggled at any point before that, that's fine. That's a completely different story. He was blowing the Twins down. He was averaging almost 2 strikeouts an inning, 13 strikeouts after 7 innings. He had the Twins right where he wanted them and was mowing them down with brutal efficiency. You don't pull a guy like that out of the game. Todd Seghetti said, if I were at the game, I'd demand a refund to come out of Dave Roberts' pockets. It's a shame the Twins didn't come back to win. I think that was like a 7-0 game, so there was literally no chance of that happening. Rich Miller.
I will say I'm not surprised that Dave Roberts made this move because Dave Roberts is the same, if he had put his fan cap on in the postseason last year, he wouldn't have lost to the Giants. Dumbass.
He lost the Braves, man. He beat the Giants.
Well, right. He wouldn't have lost to the Braves, but he wouldn't have had to, play. He wouldn't have been so tight with them, I don't think, with that series, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of interesting calls Dave made by the NLCS, blaming the fact that he had to blow all of his pitchers in the NLDS because the 106-win Dodgers were a wild card team. Well, you could have won.
Win your damn division.
Thank you. And honest to God, if the rules were reversed this year, the Braves, let's say the Mets win 107, the Braves win 106, Braves are wild card, and Dodgers win 89. It's going to suck, but I'm not going to be complaining about it because they didn't win their division. And the division winners, like the regular season, still needs to mean something. That's what that boils down to. Jason, I love you running stats on the side, man. Yeah, only 23 perfectos in the history of the game. You can't pull them from history. Yeah, my dad went off on that. After 7, no hitter, sure, pull him. Only if the perfect game gets blown. Roberts needs to be called on the carpet for this. And Travis Nur, let him pitch. So it seems like, generally speaking, the DDAB fan base is all in agreement with all of us in that Roberts screwed the pooch. Jason's last comment, like in the group chat, like he said, Kershaw, I'm still pissed he was pulled. He said what he had to in order to back his manager. If he walked a batter or something at the end of the perfect game, you pull him immediately. He has no hitter, but the pitch count was fine. Who knows how long he'll have left to try and get the perfect game? Yeah, and again, I completely agree with all of that, you guys. No arguments from me. Terrible call by Dave Roberts on that one. All right, so apparently this is going to be pitching week because there's some phenomenal pitching performances this week. New York Yankees left-handed starter Nestor Cortes pitched an immaculate inning against the Orioles. For those who don't know, an immaculate inning is 3 strikeouts and 9 pitches. And he also struck the side out earlier in the game. He struck out 12 total Orioles hitters in 5 innings. I know the Orioles not world killers. So they've got some good hitters scattered through there. They've got Mancini, a couple others, and he became the first Yankees pitcher to strike out 12 or more in a 5-inning or fewer outing. That's where baseball is today, folks, where you have pitchers only going 5 innings and racking up ridiculous strikeout numbers. Absolutely incredible. And Joe, I don't know if you saw this. I forgot to throw the link up, but there was a minor league pitcher where they were actually following the pitch clock who had an 8-pitch immaculate inning because the batter stepped out for too long and ran the pitch clock down, so it was deemed an automatic strike.
Yeah, this is one of those things where this is one of those reasons I don't want the pitch clock. Stupid things like this. I don't necessarily understand. I mean, yeah, that's great for Cortes, but hey, did they beat the Orioles this week? No.
Yeah.
You lost the series to the Orioles.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible.
You gotta take your wins where you can get them, I guess.
And I mean, you're going to see that. You're going to see that in the early season, where nobody is settled in yet. But yeah, that's pretty bad. Now, Jason, this might be the year of the pitcher. Only 15 home runs yesterday. I honestly, Jason, could it be? Sure. Last year really set the bar pretty high for calling things the year of the pitcher. So if we could see a no-hitter or two in April to get the things rolling on that, I might readdress that. It should be noted though too, but going back to Kershaw quick, the reliever who came in immediately after him, the next batter, base hit. Should have left Kershaw in.
And it was the only hit the Twins got the entire game.
Imagine that if Kershaw would have stayed in, that might not have happened.
Yeah.
Looking over at Japan again, Roki Sasaki on fire. He was also pulled from a perfect game after 8 innings. Now, he had 14 strikeouts at that point. He was being pulled at 102 pitches. He struck out the side in the 8th inning, was still hitting 101 on the clock. Freaking incredible. He has not allowed an opposing hitter to reach base in an NPB record 52 plate appearances. Through 4 starts this season, he's got a 1.16 ERA, struck out 56 batters, only allowed 7 walks, 2 hits in 31 innings. Oh, my God. Now, it was a tie game when he was pulled, and his team did lose 1-0 in the 10th. At that point, that's a better debate. Do you pull the guy at that point? Because he's over 100 pitches. He had the perfect game last week. The game is still tied, so there's no guarantee he gets a win. I'm more understanding of pulling the guy at that point than I am of pulling a guy at 80 freaking pitches after 7 innings.
Plus, didn't he have a perfect game last week? So, I mean...
Yeah. He the first one since what I said last week, like 1993, 96, something like that. It's been a long freaking time in Japan. Jason, I completely agree with you. I cannot wait for him to come to the U.S. too. The contract this guy is going to command when he comes over, he is going to blow apart all of these other Japanese baseball contracts. He is going to set the bar so freaking high, yet bearing injury, of course. That's going to be insane. And it seems like he's basically a 2-pitch guy. 100-mile-an-hour fastball and a really, really nasty forkball. I looked the guy up on YouTube after the perfect game last week. Holy crap. That forkball falls off the table. It is a thing of beauty. I'm sure he probably has some other kind of breaking stuff in there too. Yeah. Jason, didn't Rich Hill have a no-hitter through 9, but the Dodgers lost in extras?
Could have. I don't know.
I thought that game was a perfect game when Hill was pulled. Are you talking about a different one? Because Rich Hill very well could have had a no-hitter through 9, but having the Dodgers blow it in extra innings, that just wouldn't surprise me. All right. So, yeah, Jason's looking it up. Like I said, Jason, you run stats tonight. That'd be phenomenal, man. All right.
I'd tell Sasaki to come to Chicago, but I don't want to see his arm wasted.
Here's the problem. If he comes to Chicago, he might go to the south side, not the north side. I don't know if you want to risk that.
No.
So, In other pitching news, the Reds rookie phenom I talked about last week, Hunter Greene, he's still throwing smoke, man. He against the Dodgers, and he didn't get the win, unfortunately. He broke the record for triple-digit pitches in a single appearance with 39 100 plus mile an hour fastballs. Again, 39 100 mile an hour plus fastballs. The record was previously held by Jacob deGrom with 33. That was set back on June 5th, 2021. So the record didn't stand for very long. He also set a record for throwing 13 101 mile an hour pitches as a starter, and he tied Jacob deGrom and Justin Verlander, earning 2 strikeouts of 101 miles an hour in a single outing. Holy crap, this kid's going to be good. I said it last week, and I'm going to keep saying it. Good luck hitting him. He can get a little flat at times, like I said, but my God, the first 2 times through the lineup, he is going to blow them dead trying to catch up to that fastball.
Yeah, more than likely. It's really fun to see. Along with Greene and some of these other pitchers we've seen the first 2 weeks here, and Sasaki. If you're not following at Pitching Ninja on Twitter, you're missing out. They have all these nasty pitches, and how these things run. It's just amazing to watch what these pitchers are doing to baseballs, and what Hunter Greene is doing with throwing this gas. It is just insane. I just don't know how long can he throw that hard, and if he continues to throw this hard, how much are they going to lean on him a little too hard at this age? Given the Reds are the Reds and decided to sell everything when they were 3 games away from the playoffs last year.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I just don't know if that's. I'm hopeful that he can stay healthy long enough to have a good career, because he seems fun to watch so far. But the Reds are his team at the moment, and we'll see how good management does with that one.
Yeah, like I said, even while he was just destroying Atlanta's lineup, I had a blast watching him. His stuff is utter electric. And yeah, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a very good pitcher for a long time. Because let's face it, when you start at 101, as you lose velocity over time, it means he'll be like Nolan Ryan. He'll still be throwing in the mid 90s when he's 40 years old. So let's hope for that. Jason finally found that for us. Rich Hill, the no-hitter through 9 that the Dodgers lost in extra innings. August 24th, 2017 versus the Pirates in Pittsburgh. My God, Dodgers, that's pathetic. Losing a no-hitter to the freaking Pirates. He took the no-hitter into the 10th inning, pitched the 10th, and then took a 1-0 loss and a walk-off home run. Yeah, come on, man. Your pitcher's throwing a no-hitter. Squeak a run across, especially against the Pirates. Definitely not known as a death lineup of pitching. All right, so now let's look at the. We're going to take a quick peek at the downside to how things have gone with the shortened spring training. One thing we had talked about before the season and into the first week was pitching injuries. They were going to happen. I just looked at the. I looked at the MLB injury report earlier today. The list of pitchers on the 10 and 60 day ILs right now is getting really, really, really bad. I'm not going to go through this whole list, but I'm just going to pick a couple names out. Hyunjin Ryu of the Blue Jays, Sonny Gray of the Twins. John Means just went to the 60 day with an elbow strain, so the Orioles basically have no starting pitching anymore. Chris Soleil, who I feel like hasn't pitched in 3.5 years anyway, got transferred to the 60 day with a freaking rib injury. Go figure. Joe, you have 2 guys in the 10 day right now, Miley and Mills, Brad Wyek on the 60. The White Sox are down 2 of their big starters, Lance Lynn and Lucas Giolito. The Reds, Mike Minor, he was actually pulled from a rehab start because his shoulder got sore again, and Lucas Sims is on the 10 day for them as well. I mean, there are a lot more names on here than you like to see. Taijuan Walker of the Mets, obviously DeGrom's on the IL indefinitely because the Mets can never get him healthy. The Phillies just lost Sean Coonrod for 60 days. And I don't think he's done for the year. I think they just they're going to take him really slow coming back. Blake Snell, Mike Clevenger, the Padres, Spencer Howard, although his is just a crack nailer / blister, so that's not as big of a deal. For the Nats, Anibal Sanchez, Mason Thompson, and of course Strasburg's on the IL. So, you're going to see these injuries with a shortened spring training. All you can hope for is that these teams are going to be smart, use the expanded roster as much as possible, and try and reduce wear and tear. That's a massive injury list for April. Probably the biggest name on there. I agree with Jason. John Means. That's do the Orioles have anybody left who can start that doesn't completely and utterly suck? Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. That's wow.
Yeah, this is troubling. It's concerning. I think you're going to see a lot of people go to 6-man rotations, or they're going to do something the Cubs have done with Justin Steele and Keegan Thompson and have them pitch back to back, 4 innings. Do some sort of package deal like that where almost every game is going to be a bullpen game. So in some way, shape, or form, not like a full-blown bullpen game, but a lot of these games are going to be bullpen games in some way. I do agree with Jason. I think the White Sox losing these two guys after not signing Rodon is terrible.
Yeah, the
Absolutely
White Sox are suddenly hella thin at the rotation, which was going to be a strength for them. That said, I don't know if the rest of the division is going to be able to make that up beforehand. Jason would also like to point out that our buddy Big Jim may be available to step in for a couple spot starts for the Orioles, and I can come out of retirement. Yeah, I don't think my arm's up to that anymore. I wish it was. Although that said, way back when, ignoring the joke between me and the other Andrew Miller, who owes me a lot of money for stealing my name and likeness, way back when I could actually throw a really nasty split-fingered fastball, and I actually know how to throw a knuckleball. So if the Lancaster Barnstormers would like to sign me so the major leagues can see me and grab me, that'd be great, although I know that's probably not going to end well. It's been a pretty long time since I pitched anything for real. So, yeah. All right, Joe, let's head into our predictions now. We didn't do the division predictions last week because of how long we were running. So, all right, Joe, where are you ranking the 5 teams in the AL East? We'll start with the AL and then go to the NL.
I would say probably I think the AL East, it's probably 5-1. I would say the Orioles. I would say the Yankees 4, the Rays 3, and I'm gonna say Blue Jays probably. That's too close to call at the top there, but I'm gonna say Blue Jays 2, Red Sox 1.
Interesting. And yes, Jason, 100%. The only way to go down in history with a 100% strike percentage. For me, going worst to first, Orioles 5, Red Sox 4, Yankees 3, Rays 2, Blue Jays 1. I think it's the Blue Jays division to lose until they do something stupid and convince me otherwise. Jason's 5-1, Orioles, Red Sox, Yankees, Rays, Blue Jays. All right, moving on to the AL Central. I'll go first this time, Joe. Worst to first, I've got the Royals at 5, the Guardians at 4, the Twins at 3, the Tigers at 2, the White Sox at 1. I still think, despite the pitching injuries, I still think it's the White Sox division to lose. They just won't have the division wrapped up by June 28th this year. What do you got for the AL Central?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Royals 5. I'm gonna Guardians 4. Detroit 3, Minnesota 2, White Sox 1.
And Jason is hopping on the Andrew bandwagon with his picks for the AL Central. All right.
Yeah, I think the big thing with the Twins made a ton of moves in the last week or so before the season started. They've had some promising games here so far. So I'm just not. It's kind of a close call there, I think, between 3 and 2.
I agree.
I'm counting on Javi striking out 200 times or more. So I'm gonna say uh, Tigers 3, Twins 2, White Sox 1.
Now that you flip flop it around. Oh man, and Jason is hopping back and forth, kind of like the Philly fanatic trying to land on his feet when he parachutes out of an airplane. So, all right, looking at the AL West, Joe, what do you have worst to first in the AL West?
A's fifth, I would say. I don't think just with the fire sale they did, it's just ridiculous. Try to remember who all is in the AL West because I don't watch it enough.
You want the Rangers at 4?
Yeah, I would say probably Rangers at 4. I know it's gonna probably be Seattle 1, Houston 2, and
Angels 3.
Yeah, Angels 3. Couldn't remember who the fourth team was.
I won't hold it against you. Jason might, but I won't. Jason's picks. He's going to go Rangers last, then the A's, the Angels, the Astros, the Mariners. And Jason, we're actually in agreement again. That's exactly how I picked it. I was originally going to go A's 5, but the A's have actually shown that they aren't going to completely roll over and die yet. Whereas the Rangers just have decided not to start playing baseball yet. They're like 2-7 or something insane like that so far. So, and that may flip flop by the end of the year, but that's where we're going to have it. All right, now the bloodbath of the East, the NL East. My worst to first, I've got Nats 5, which I think is pretty much going to be universal for everybody. Marlins 4. I've got Mets 3 because I just don't know if they can get over all the injuries to their starting pitching that they've got between DeGrom down and Taijuan Walker going down, and who knows what they're going to get out of Max Scherzer. I've got the Phillies 2. I've got Braves 1. What do you got, Joe?
Yeah, Nats Fish 5-4. The rest of this is going to be a little touchy, I think. I think I'm going to go with the Braves 3, the Phils 2, and the Mets first. I think the Mets, Tyler McGill has been electric for them. Carrasco has pitched well enough to make a difference there. So I think they have enough offensive power. At least they did this weekend. I was watching some of that. Now, granted, it's the Diamondbacks, and Zach Davies is one of the pitchers for the Diamondbacks. So go figure. We all know, the fans of this show know how much I love Zach Davies or love to hate Zach Davies. But yeah, I think they have enough offense, and I think now that they have better management, they're not having 50 different lineups 10 games into the season. That's just sort of what it felt like watching the Mets last year. So I still think the Mets could win this division. I think, like I said, McGill is the big bright spot for them so far. He hasn't let up a run yet in 2 starts.
Yeah, McGill's been fantastic. I've been shocked at how well he's basically turned himself into a miniature version of Jacob deGrom so far. Quite surprising. Jason's picks: Nats, Fish, Phils, Braves, Mets. He agrees with my point on the injuries, though, as being a valid point. And again, and that's going to be for the top. I don't think there's any doubt. Top 3 is Braves, Mets, Phillies, no matter how they get ordered. I'll just go alphabetically for sake of argument at this point. It's going to be who's going to stay healthy and who's going to recover best from when injuries do happen, because injuries will happen. So yeah.
And I think the thing with DeGrom is the Mets are used to not having DeGrom at this point. I think he's the Mike Trout of pitching at this point. They're more used to not having him than they are used to having him. And I just don't. They have better management to get around that this year than they did in the past. Um, and better quality guys that they've developed from a pitching standpoint.
Yeah, I do agree with that. All right, let's move on to the NL Central. Joe, your division. Take it away, buddy. Worst to first.
Um, 4-5 is a toss up for me. I feel like the Reds have just completely, you know, thrown out the baby with the bathwater and just decided to say forget it. With all the releasing and trades they did this year, Ken Griffey is the sixth highest paid Red, and he doesn't even play for them anymore. So, like by getting rid of all of that, that's kind of what you're left with, and I think they have enough talent in the field to probably be fourth, but the Pirates, that's going to be a bit of a split there, I think. So I'm going to say, um, I'm going to say Reds 5, Pirates 4, and then I'm going to agree with Jason, Cubs. Well, I'm going to flip the Brewers and the Cardinals. Cubs, Brewers, Cardinals.
Okay, so the first person
And
to
that's hard for me to do because you know how much I love the Cardinals. So
Jason, as he says, the Reds have given up like I give up on exercise. Jason's picks are Pirates, Reds, Cubs, Cardinals, Brewers, which matches what I said. No, I'm sorry, I said Reds, Pirates, Cubs, Cardinals, Brewers. Yeah, the number 14, the 4-5. That's gonna whatever. I still don't. I love the bromance going on. Let's bring back Yachty and Albert and Wainwright for one last show. 10 years ago, that's a hell of a lineup to bring out. Now, I'm not as sold on it. So I think the Brewers are still going to hold the Central.
yeah, I mean, I do think that there is some of that sentimental stuff, and like you said, it's not quite the same, obviously. I think that I think the Cardinals have enough talent all over the outfield and in other spots in the infield that the old teams with Pujols, they didn't have quite this much talent the rest of the all over the rest of the field. I think. Um, so
I
I
mean,
think that's helpful.
the Cardinals definitely have the best defense or one of the best defenses in baseball. Problem is when your pitching lets the ball go over the fence, it doesn't matter.
Right.
All right, looking at the NL West, my worst to first: Diamondbacks 5, Rockies 4, Padres 3, Giants 2, Dodgers 1. I finally decided I'll go Dodgers 1 over the Giants. Again, that the top two I could see flip flop. I don't see the bottom two flip flopping. Although Padres Rockies, that'll be interesting. Will the Padres manage to not completely and utterly collapse horribly this year? That'll be a good question as the season goes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Diamondbacks 5. Um, I agree with Rockies 4. I think the Padres will stay 3, and I'm gonna go Dodgers 2, Giants 1. I think the Dodgers or the Giants just have so much great starting pitching, and not to say that the Dodgers don't, but it's younger quality starting pitching than the Dodgers have. And I think they're going to be hungry after last year, going down on a check swing that wasn't. I think there's a lot of fire in camp, and I think you know Kapler has shown he can not screw a good thing up last year, at least getting to the playoffs. So I think this could be the year he gets over the hump. I think.
Add Kapler to the list of managers who have been more successful once they've left Philadelphia than they were in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Jason's with me on the NL West as written. All right, so my three wild card teams from the AL, I had the Rays, the Astros, and the Yankees. My three for the NL, I had the Phillies, the Giants, and the Mets. So who are your three wild card teams from each league?
Well, since I think I said Blue Jays for the AL East, Red Sox for the AL East. So I'd say The Blue Jays will be one of those other two teams. Um, Probably the Rays and Houston would be the other one.
Mhm.
Assuming that the entire AL Central is just not quite good enough and beats up on each other, that's what I'm going with.
All right. And Jason's pick for wild cards: Astros, Rays, Yankees, and yes, Jason, I pulled up the transcript. You did say Yankees, so correct. And then did you say your NL, Joe? So
No,
Jason,
I think it'll be Dodgers will be one of those. I think I'd like to. I'd say at least one of the other two NL East teams will be in there. Whoever doesn't win that division and takes second. I guess based on my picks, that would be Philly. But I could see that going either way.
yeah.
I think this third wild card makes things interesting. I do think you could potentially see the three-headed monster we saw in the NL Central years ago, where you had three teams make the playoffs from one division. So I think the other. I would say Braves and Philly. I agree with Jason. I think the Dodgers could be one of those, since I picked the Giants to win that division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jason's three NL wild cards from his picks were Giants, Braves, Phillies as a semi-homer pick, although he also points out that the Cardinals would not surprise him as well. And frankly, the Cardinals would not surprise me either if they would sneak in.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised. Given my division prediction, I wouldn't be surprised if the Brewers snuck in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Given how good Josh Hader is going to be and already has been this year, so.
All right, Joe. So let's prognosticate a little further. Let's go to the championship series. Who are your What's your NLCS result? What's your ALCS result?
I'd say that NLCS will be Giants and whoever wins the East. So I guess for mine it was the Mets. So Giants Mets in the NLCS, and I think the Giants make it to the series
Okay.
on the
How about the
National League side.
ALCS?
AL, I think it's gonna be um, White Sox and Blue Jays, and then I think the Blue Jays make it into the World Series.
Okay. My NLCS, I've got Braves over Dodgers because we're gonna roll it back a third freaking season. And then in the ALCS, I've got White Sox over the Blue Jays. Because pitching usually wins out in the postseason. Jason said Blue Jays over Mariners, Dodgers over Brewers, and then changed his mind to Dodgers over Giants because Jason could make up his mind. Because I think Jason, for a second, thought that the Brewers actually had competent hitting, which we know they don't have. All right, Joe, what's your World Series pick?
These are always fun. I'm going to go with the San Francisco Giants.
All right. I could see the Giants on it. Would not surprise me. I'm going for the first repeat in too many goddamn years. Braves over White Sox.
Man, this is my shocked face.
Yeah, right. Hey, is it a homer pick when it happens?
Yes. Because it's not expected to happen. Nobody's repeated in 20 years?
It's been a long time, yeah, about 20, 21 years. And Jason saying Blue Jays throw it back to the early 90s and take it. Honestly, I would not be at all surprised to see the Blue Jays do it. I wouldn't hate to see that either. That's an exciting team, and I freaking love watching Vlad Guerrero Jr. Yeah, I know, Jason, not since the Yankees in the late, yeah, I know, 99, 2000. We know. At least the three-peat got stopped thanks to the Diamondbacks and their two-headed pitching monster of Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling. Thank God for the Diamondbacks.
And
We didn't see
the purple and teal uniforms, too. Don't forget the purple and teal uniforms.
Dude, I liked those uniforms. I like them better than what the Diamondbacks have now, honestly. Purple's not used that much in Major League Baseball, so a little extra purple here and there is certainly not going to hurt anything. Although I will say this, at least the Diamondbacks got rid of that hideous fake snakeskin crap jersey. That was
Yeah.
one of the ugliest things to ever grace a baseball field in the history of the game. Yep. Jason, I remember staying up for that because my mom
Yep.
went from cheering to crying immediately thereafter. I think I got sent to bed pretty quickly immediately after that when my mom realized that the Yankees finally lost and Mariano finally got cracked in the postseason. Although let's be honest here, that was a hell of a run for Mariano Rivera before somebody finally pushed a run across against him.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, it's that time. It's time for Cubby Rant time. Fire away,
Well, I
bud.
mean, we're gonna start off with some good stuff. We're gonna start off with a recap, and then I'm gonna, let my feelings be known about my wonderful, wonderful, long extended manager. Uh, geez. So, some good things just early on. Cubs offensively, um, your slash line for the Cubs, they lead in these categories. They're 281 average, uh, 364 on base, 447 slugging, and OPS of 811. So they're really having a good year so far offensively. They went from the highest whiff rate to one of the lower ones. Surprise, surprise. What happens when you get rid of Javi Baez? Your whiff rate goes down exponentially. So, that's offensively, they're in a good spot right now, hitting the ball. So that's exciting. Um, this Pirates series um, was interesting to say the least. I call game one the no Rossi game because he had to serve a suspension for throwing at McCutcheon last week. And that was a 2-1 win. They left five guys on base. They went 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position, which usually doesn't help you. But um, Suzuki had 2 homers in that game. Um, you know, so and that was the really the only offense in that game. Suzuki had 2 homers in game one. Uh, Drew Smiley, the much maligned Drew Smiley, went 5 innings, 3 hits, no runs, and a strikeout for the win because Rossi didn't pull him before the fifth inning was over. Um, and Dave Robertson, journeyman closer, who's with the Cubs this year now, got in the save. Ian Happ has been on fire. He had a 2 for 3 day on Tuesday last week. Quintana for the Pirates went 5 1/3, 5 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. So Quintana didn't have a bad day. There just wasn't a ton of offense in this game in game one. But Suzuki is on fire. Um, his first start to the year here, 10 hits, 7 runs, 2 doubles, 4 homers, 11 RBIs, 9 walks, and 9 strikeouts. So he's seeing a ton of pitching and he's seeing it clearly. So I'll take the strikeouts if you're going to walk 9 times already. I mean that's taking more pitches than Javi has taken in his entire career. Um, So Suzuki's line at this point, batting 400, on base 543, 960 slugging, 1503 OPS. So he's again really seeing the ball well, really exciting to watch hit. And he's getting used to fielding too. He's got Hayward in center, which is uh, Hayward is in center because they don't have anybody else to play center. Not necessarily that he should be there, but that's the way it goes. Uh, Jason, you're killing me, man. You're killing me. So the no Rossi game again. Smiley gets the win there, and that's exciting. Ross comes back in game two, and the Pirates proceed to win 6-2. So at the Cubs in the Pirates series total have grounded into 3 double plays. For the week, they grounded into 12. So they're hitting the ball all over the place, but they're hitting a lot of ground balls too, which is a bit of a struggle for them. Um, so in game two, Contreras went 2 for 4, got his first home run, scored 2 runs in that game. Had a double as well. Suzuki had an RBI single, and that was just about it. This gets into sort of the issue here, but Brian Hayes for the Pirates went 4 for 4 with 2 runs, an RBI. Ben Gamble hit a 3-run homer for the Pirates. The Pirates went 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position, which is what you need to do to win games, especially these kind of ones. Hendricks went 3 2/3, 7 hits, 6 runs, all earned. 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, and a homer. It was 5-2 after the third inning, and Rossi put him back out there after clearly for 3 innings. If you watch a lot of this, Kyle's just not locating down like he needs to in this game. He's not getting swings on his changeup, and his sinkers and stuff were getting too much of the plate. So, you know, he was really struggling through three, and for some reason, my wonderful esteemed manager decides to put him back out there, and then pulls him in 3 2/3. So, I mean, this is again the Pirates pitched really well. Their bullpen went 5 innings, 2 walks, 1 hit, and 6 strikeouts. So the bullpen was really good for them, which was exciting to not for me, but it's good for the Pirates to have something. Will Crow went 3 innings on the save, which two inning saves are hard to come by, but 3 innings that's impressive work. So a hat tip to Will Crow for the Pirates on that one. That's the
Joe, you muted yourself, bud.
Sorry about that.
You cut yourself off. Try again.
When did I cut myself off?
So that's cut.
That's the Pirates series. Splitting that series, I'm not too upset about. I would love to take 2, but I kind of figured they would split that series this early on. Playing in PNC. So, which is a beautiful ballpark. And Wilson's homer, I don't know if it hit the river or not. It was pretty close in center field there.
If it didn't make it in the air, it definitely bounced in because he smoked that one.
Yeah, for sure. And then going into this Rocky series, 9 double plays that they grounded into throughout the 4 games, which is a bad thing, but it's also they're hitting better in general than they used to. Like they were a big hits and that's it, or strikeouts kind of team for so long, and now they're more of a spray the ball all over the fields type of small ball type of game. So it's different to watch. It's nice to see them not strike out so much. They had more walks probably this week than Javi had in his career, and same thing with Seiya and everybody else. So,
well, I mean, that's why strikeouts are down. Javi's playing in Detroit.
Who would have thought getting rid of one guy would drop our strikeout rate so low? The game one on Thursday with the Rockies, Cubs win this one 5-2. Justin Steele continues to pitch really well. 4 1/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Currently has a 1.93 ERA. So that's, I was high on him last year. I'm really excited to see what he can do right now. But he goes 4 1/3 and seems to be pitching pretty well. And what does my manager do when a pitcher's pitching well? He pulls him. So he pulls him. He doesn't qualify for the win. After a third of an inning from one of the bullpen guys, Keegan Thompson comes in, goes 3 1/3, 3 hits and a strikeout to close the door. Givens gets the save with an inning pitched, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts. Madrigal and VR went 2 for 4 in this game each. They both scored a run. VR is really starting to hit the ball well. So is Madrigal. So I'm really excited to see what this team can do. Um, Hap continues to impress, and my boy Schwindy City, Frank the Tank Schwindel, got in on the action this weekend. Thursday hit his first homer of the year, went 2 for 4. Um, again, this game itself, they grounded into 4 double plays on Thursday. So I
Yikes.
know I'm going to talk about this a ton, but it's one of those things that we're seeing with this new look offense they have. The Rockies on Thursday left 12 guys on base and went 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. So that's the story. Game 1. Game 2, they lose this one 6-5. Stroman didn't bring his best. He went 4 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, a walk, 4 strikeouts, and a homer. And pitch count wise, he had 39 pitches in his first 3 innings total. He threw 41 in the 4th inning. He looked noticeably uncomfortable. He couldn't locate for crap. And again, what does my manager do? Leaves him in there. Uh, it's just really frustrating to watch, to be honest with you. Wilson went 3 for 5 in this game. VR went 2 for 3. Wisdom went 2 for 2 and finally started hitting the ball. CJ Crone for the Rockies had a home run in the 5th of this game. It really kind of blew this game away. Blew it out of the water. So it's, you can't, you go 5 for 15, you leave 12 guys on, you're not going to win a game. And when your pitching is so poorly managed as it is, you're not going to have success there. KB, the first 2 games for the Rockies in this series, went 4 for 9. Scored a couple of runs, so he looked pretty good offensively. I don't miss him, but sometimes I do. If he's going to hit like this, but it wasn't a contract year, so I guess I get a couple of good years out of him, and then someone else gets the other 7. So
You got a ring out of him.
yeah, I know. 1 should have had 3.
Should have had
I'm
3.
greedy.
But you had
I'm
one for
sorry.
the first time since the early 1900s. I mean, that's got to count for something, right?
Yeah. I saw somebody at the grocery store the other day. I had my sweatshirt on, and they said, "Hey, you won." And he said, "First time in 100 years." And I said, 108, but who's counting? I said, hopefully it's not another 100. So, anyway, so they split game 1 and 2. Game 3, Mark Leiter Jr. made his debut for them. Went 3 1/3. Had 5 hits, 7 runs, 4 walks. So he didn't really get comfortable in this game, and I think looked good for 2 innings, and then Rossi tries to let him go 3, and good luck. But the big story of this one, VR was 4 for 5 again, 3 ribbies. Suzuki 2 for 3, 2 runs. Wisdom 3 for 4. So again, some of these bats are starting to come alive. Sanzatella pitched really well for Colorado and got the win in this game. CJ Crone had a 2-run homer. That's sort of when the wheels fall off, and then you leave a pitcher in when you shouldn't. So those runs were in the 3rd inning. The CJ Crone home run, I think they had 4 runs in that inning, and for some reason you put him out for another 1/3 of an inning. I don't get it, but hey. Cubs tried to fight back in this game, but they were just down too far to win this game. So game 4 Sunday, Drew Smiley, 4 2/3, an inning pitch, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk and 4 strikeouts. So he's really pitching well in these early starts. I know it's early, but hey, he's pitching well. I'll take it.
It won't last. I can promise you that.
I'm not expecting it to necessarily, but I got to take what I can get. He threw 40% of his pitches were curveballs in Sunday's game. So he's throwing the curveball a lot more than he's throwing everything else. And he was seeming to have some success with that. But after 74 pitches and 1 out away from the win, we pull him. Why? I don't know. We're lucky enough to win these games, but, it's just really stupid. We win this game. I'm happy with the offense. I'm happy with, with what we're getting out of some of these guys finally coming to life with the bat. But I'm just so disappointed in a guy who is behind the dish for 2 World Series, if I'm not mistaken. At least one Hall of Fame pitcher, maybe 2 down the line that he caught, and somehow still doesn't know how to manage pitching. Like, I don't understand this. I don't get it. How can you have a guy who struggles through 3 innings, and put him out for the 4th inning? And you have a guy who's not struggling for 4 2/3, and you pull him and don't let him get the win. I realize you care more about team wins than pitcher wins, but God damn it, let these guys throw. It's ridiculous. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of being angry at who my manager is. Joe Madden drove me crazy because he did stupid things, and strange things and things. Hey, it worked, but it was weird. David Ross just drives me absolutely bonkers. I don't understand how a guy who was that talented as a catcher and talented enough to catch John Lester and other, successful, Hall of Fame level pitchers, World Series winning pitchers, can be so crappy and terrible as a manager. Seriously, I don't understand this. Can somebody help me?
So, for the record, you were correct. 2 World Series titles. He was with Boston in 13 as well. No, man, I can't help you. First of all, can I just say, anybody who throws a rookie out there for their first start on the road in freaking Colorado, what the hell is up with that? You literally throw them to the most whacked out, screwed up ballpark in Major League Baseball and say, "Oh, hey, kid, good luck."
If you're going to do that, he throws 2 good innings, get him out of there. Like, don't give these guys a second bite at a rookie pitcher who's making his first start at Coors Field.
Yeah, that's I do not understand that. I will never understand that one right there personally.
I don't understand it. I don't understand leaving Kyle in when he's clearly not throwing well against Pittsburgh. I don't understand leaving Stroman in there when he's just having a terrible freaking day locating after the first 2 innings. Like, the guys I was listening to, these guys are the CH Go Cubs podcast on Spotify, and they were just helping me to kind of feel a little bit better about how the offense is doing. But and I'm impressed with what they're doing. But the way that he's managing pitchers is just like, there's no explaining that away, man. Like, you don't leave these guys in longer than you should. Like, it's a feeling. You can't look at numbers with this stuff. You have to just go, look, he's clearly not locating right. They're clearly hitting him all over the damn place. Let's get him out of there. And he just doesn't have that feel yet. I'm hoping he gets it, but I don't expect it to happen. You want to chalk it up to not having a standard regular season so far, fine. But at some point, you have to adapt. You have to understand and learn and grow with the game. And for someone to have been successful enough to win 2 World Series titles behind the plate, how the hell does he not understand pitching?
The world may never know. All right, let's move on. Move on. No, that's exactly what I was hoping for. I love a good "what the hell is David Ross doing this week" rant. It gets me going, not gonna lie. All right, I'll step in for Jason here since he's not here to do his Phillies. It was you can't sugarcoat this. Last week for the Phillies sucked. They dropped 2 or 3 to the Mets. They won the first game of the series despite some of the most horrific displays of fielding that has been seen on a Major League Baseball field this season. Alec Baum made 3 errors, all throwing errors, was caught on camera saying, quote, "I fucking hate this place." He did. Now they brought it up to him in post game. He did admit to it. He said, emotions got the best of me, and that he did not mean any offense towards the franchise or the fans. He said, quote, "I said it. Do I mean it? No. It's a frustrating night for me, obviously. Made a few mistakes in the field. Look, these are people, these fans, they just want to win. You heard it. We came back. They're great. I'm just sorry to them. I didn't mean that." You got to give Baum credit for at least stepping up and, admitting that he said it and then apologizing about it.
Yeah, apologizing and probably not meaning it wholeheartedly. I don't blame him for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what do you expect Philly fans to do when you make 3 glaringly bad throwing errors that
Terrible
cost
errors.
you that give the team extra outs, and then you make a routine play and get a standing ovation, joking standing ovation for making a routine play. I
And
mean,
then but the next night when he came into pinch hit, he got what I think it was a legit standing ovation from the fans the next night for that one.
yeah, I
Um,
think fans appreciate a good mea culpa, and I think owning your crap and owning your baggage and owning your mistakes. Fans appreciate that.
yeah,
Yeah, I think definitely emotions got the best of him, but I don't
but
necessarily,
I
I'm not
mean,
surprised by that.
man, honestly, if I made 3 freaking throwing errors in 3 innings or whatever the hell it was, I would probably say something along the lines of, "I fucking hate this too." Honestly. Well done, Jason.
Yeah,
He took accountability and owned it, unlike Ben Simmons.
yeah. Recapping some of Jason's notes here. This week for the Phillies was a bunch of garbage around a crazy comeback in Game 1 versus the Mets and an offensive explosion in Game 3 versus the Fish. It was a bunch of garbage is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Um, team
Yeah.
couldn't score, which is surprising when they're built for offense. Um, and the starters, they just they're still having a rough go, like a lot of these starting pitchers are, with trying to finally get loose enough to go 7, 8, 9 innings.
Yeah.
Uh,
I brought this up last week, Joe. The Phillies need to force themselves to rely on small ball and not go for the big home run all the time because that's going to dry up. Look at the Reds in 2020 where they were completely boom or bust and had, but again, granted with a short season, by far the highest percentage of runs scored off of a home run compared to any other team in history. All right, so moving on in that game, the Mets game 1, the Mets bullpen melted down late, kind of like the Phillies bullpen's done for the last 5 or 6 years. Real Muto hit a beautiful two-run homer in the 8th. Hoskins and Didi, they had run scoring doubles. That game, that's not a game you typically expect the Phillies to win, trailing 4-0 in the 8th, but they scored 5 runs to come back and win it. Now, something that definitely hurt the Mets, Taijuan Walker, he was absolutely dominating the Phillies, but they had to pull him after 2 innings because of the right shoulder irritation. Then, like I mentioned, he later went on to the IR. And as Jason would like to point out, they didn't score before the 8th inning for about 3 or 4 straight games. Yeah, that's unfortunately true there too. Game 2 was a 2-0 loss. McGill, he has been brilliant filling in for DeGrom, as we mentioned. 5 1/3, 3 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Wheeler was shaky, but he did help hold on, got himself out of some jams. He only gave up 1 run in 4 2/3. He only struck out 3. Nemo's homer on Wheeler chased him in the 5th. Lindor also knocked in an insurance run in the 8th. Diaz picked up his first save for the Mets this season. Interestingly, the Phillies decided to start former Braves play anywhere in the infield Johan Camargo for Baum because Baum had 3 freaking errors in game 1. And that didn't really go so well for the Phillies, unfortunately, because although it wasn't recorded as an error on what should have been a pretty routine 5-4-3 double play, very bad throw to second base. It pulled Stott off the bag now. Stott recovered. He got the force out, so an error was not recorded to Camargo, but that should have been a freaking double play right there. That was terrible fielding. It Jason rubbing the salt in the wounds, whether he's on air live or not.
Brad
And
Miller, 3 home runs at Wrigley Field. Yes, I remember it well.
And then in the third game of the series, the Phillies got beaten down 9-6. Scherzer, he was in an early jam, but then settled in like he usually does. 1 run, 5 hits, 7 strikeouts in 5 innings. Pete Alonso decided to wake up and have a monstrous game in that when he had a home run, 2 doubles, and 5 RBIs. Nemo had a solo home run off Nola. Nola kind of looking like last season. Nola 3 1/3, 3 earned runs, 3 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Every Phillies pitcher except for Alvarado gave up at least 1 run in that game, and Segura left the game after a hit by pitch. I believe he's day-to-day right now. And Harper had a Harper-style home run solo shot in the 9th inning. Oh, gee.
I had the game wrong. Sorry, Jason. Yes, I do remember the Price walk-off. You're right.
I was about to say it didn't happen in that game. That was a solo shot in that one. All right, moving on to the Marlins. The Phillies kryptonite, the Miami Marlins or Florida Marlins, doesn't matter which iteration of the Marlins. Outside of the years where the Phillies were contending for World Series titles, the Marlins have always, unfortunately, played the Phillies very, very tough. So they dropped 3 of 4. Game 1 was the Marlins home opener, which, home opener team tends to play better. They lost that one 4-3, and they were facing known Philly killer Sandy Alcantara. He looked really sharp, 6 1/3, 2 runs, 7 hits, 5 strikeouts, only walked a guy. Joey Wendell, he had a pretty good series. He had 2 RBIs in that game. Garrett Cooper had his first homer for the season. Harper tried like hell to bring this team back in, 3 RBIs. JT Realmuto, he reached base 5 times, 4 singles and a walk. I mean, that's a great night. Gibson, not the sharp night for him. 5 hits, 4 runs allowed in 4 2/3. He walked 3. He did strike out 6. Crazy stat from that game. 67th time in Bryce Harper's career, he has had 3 or more RBIs. In those games, his teams are 61-6. That's a hell of a stat. Alcantara, first Marlins pitcher to pitch into the 7th inning this season. Not really surprised by that. Like I said, Segura is still day-to-day. Coonrod got bumped to the 60-day IL. Joe, craziest number you're going to see all night. Miami for their home opener. 31,184 fans. I wonder how many of them had to be bribed to go to the game. Does
that count as a sellout for them or what?
No, it doesn't. It's the biggest crowd since opening day in 18. Their capacity is 36,742. So even with liberal bribe money probably paid out to the Miami fans, they were still 5,000 plus short of a sellout. Jason doesn't want to talk about the Marlins series, so we'll do it for him.
Go ahead, Joe. With this series is like last year and really the last 2 years, it's just been they've just been killers for no reason against the Phillies. Alcantara has pitched out of his mind pretty much every time he's played them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's strange how they get up for a few teams, and it's good competitively, but it's just these are the kind of games you have to win. If you're the Phillies, and these are the ones they really can't lose. They can't lose these series the way they have been. A couple other notes from Jason in the chat. He wouldn't mind Alec Bowman hitting. We just don't want him in third base, and I couldn't agree with that anymore.
Yeah.
The time for him to play third base is over. You got to have him DH or give Hoskins a day off. Maybe just catching balls he can do. Maybe throwing is just not his strong suit. We'll see what happens.
They tried him at first last year. It wasn't pretty.
Yeah, these guys. I think the Philly hitters will come around. They'll figure out small ball and long ball. They'll figure it all out. I'm not too worried about it. I think as the season goes on and these injuries start to mount up across the league, hitters and pitchers, I think you'll see a lot of adjustments. You'll see a lot of changes, and I think there'll be. I'm not too stressed about the Phillies. I'm not in panic mode just yet. And Jason's obviously thinking that same thing. He's not quite in panic mode yet, but it really needs to get more productive offensively.
Yeah, not to sound like a broken
It's
record from last week to this week, we are 2 weeks in. It is too soon to panic. It's too soon to celebrate. I say that for every team with a few exceptions. The A's are done. The Reds are done. The bottom third of the league. And you know who you are. The Orioles and a couple others. You guys know Diamondbacks. You guys know who you are. You guys are done. For everybody else, relax, breathe. It's still early. A lot will change between now and October.
yeah, it's too early for panic, but it's not too early to hate your manager.
Oh, it's never too early to hate your manager. Never, 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 ever. So in that second game, it was a 7-1 loss. Jesus Sanchez had a triple for the second straight game, along with a double and two RBIs. Pablo Lopez pitched well. 5 1/3, 4 hits, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. That was Pablo Lopez's first freaking victory for the Marlins since July 11th last year. Aguilar, 3 RBIs with 2 sacrifice flies and a single. Now, Aguilar, he was the Marlins RBI leader last season and had not, up until that point, had any RBIs this season. So he's finally getting going. Castellanos solo shot for the Phillies in the eighth. The Phillies went 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Just like you mentioned, Joe, if you do that, you're not going to score runs. You're not going to win games. Schwarber at that point was 1 for 28 after recording 2 hits in the opener. And one of my favorite guys to watch across all of baseball, Jazz Chisholm Jr., dude is electric. He is fun to watch. 2 RBIs and a triple in the second. Eflin, not a great outing. 4 innings, 4 runs, 6 hits, 4 strikeouts, and a walk. In the third game of the series, the Phillies offense finally woke up. They won that one big 10-3. Harper, a double, 2 RBIs, 2 walks. He stole home. Alec Boehm, 2 hits and 3 RBIs. Castellanos, 2 singles and an RBI. Flipping around the RISP, the Phillies went 7 for 12, much better. Suarez, 5 innings, 2 runs, 6 hits, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks. The walks are a touch high, but he was being aggressive in that game. He was pounding the strike zone and was having good results with it. The Phillies jumped on Rogers, not surprisingly. 7 runs allowed, 4 hits, 3 strikeouts, 4 walks. He only made it through an inning in 2/3. I think his first inning was like 40 pitches long. So the fact that Mattingly even ran him back out there for the second inning is it's a little surprising. But at least he didn't pull a Rossi and try and push him through 2 or 3 when he clearly didn't have it going. That was Rogers' 7th straight loss since June 10th of last year. And that home that Harper stole, brilliant play. Castellanos gets caught in a rundown trying to steal second. Harper, good heads-up play, steals home. In that game, Jorge Soler had his first home run since the moonshot in Game 6 of the World Series last year, which I believe is still in orbit last time I checked. Avisel Garcia also had his first home run since signing with the Marlins as well. Real Muto, not so good that night, 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts as Girardi tried to put him at leadoff because Schwarber was sucking at leadoff. Jason, that was one of the funkiest plays you're going to see. And, it's the kind of thing, if you try that in the show, both of your guys are going to be out and it'll be a double play every time.
The funny thing about that is I think Castellanos was safe getting back to first, and the second baseman took out the first baseman.
Yeah, it was a hilarious comedy of mishaps, which for a team with defense as bad as the Phillies have, that had to be nice seeing that from other teams. Yeah, Jason agrees. And then the Phillies ended the week on an utter flop, losing 11-3. Jazz Chisholm, career game. He had a double, a triple, 3 RBIs. Sanchez had 3 hits and 2 RBIs. Eliezer Hernandez pitched really well, 6 innings, 5 hits, a run allowed, 5 strikeouts. Harper had another solo homer for the Phillies and an RBI double in the 7th. Sanchez, man, he had a huge series against the Phillies, 7 for 15, 2 doubles, 2 triples, 5 RBIs. And the crazy thing, Joe, is I don't even think he made my hot list because there were guys that did better than that. Schwarber did break out of his 1 for 28 funk. He had a single and a solo homer, so we'll see if he can keep that going. Wheeler, he didn't have, he got shelled. 3 innings, 8 hits, 7 earned runs. Again, he's still working back. I'm not worried about Wheeler. Give him another start or two. He'll probably get back to his normal self pretty soon. All right, and Jason, it looks like it's bedtime for him now that the agony of the Phillies is over. So, Jason, we do appreciate the comments. It was absolutely hilarious having you on, trying to trip Joe up as he was ranting. All right. So let's move on to Atlanta. Joe, I'm sorry, Joe. Anything else about the Phillies? I think we pretty well touched on.
No, we've pretty well hit around the bases there with what happened for them. So
dead horse is dead.
I'd say so.
All right, we'll move on. Atlanta, not a great week. Not as bad as the Phillies, thank God, but not the best week. 1-2 versus the Nationals. Game 1 was a blowout, 11-2 loss. Huascar, absolutely ineffective. He gave up 5 earned runs in 3 innings. Davidson, who was supposed to be the starter the next day, but had to come in late because, it only survived 3 innings, got shelled as well. The Braves pitching was wild as hell that night. 5 walks, a wild pitch, and a hit batsman. His first pitch for strikes, 5 for 18. That's terrible. Mikel Franco had a great game. Good. He always hits Atlanta really well. 4 for 5, a double, a homer, and 5 RBIs. Jesus. Let's move on. Game 2, the Braves came back and blew the Nationals out 16-4 because blowout means blowout. And the pitching fortunes, they completely did a 180. The Nats walked 9 this time, and Atlanta only walked 1. Ozuna had 2 solo homers to go along with a double. 7 hitters recorded an RBI. 6 recorded 2+ RBIs. Every Atlanta starter recorded a hit. Juan Soto did have a solo home run. That was his 100th of his career. Congratulations, Mr. Soto. There will be many more where that came from because people are just going to try and pitch to him, even though, let's be realistic, they should probably walk him most of the time. And also Josh Bell had a home run as well as they chased Bryce Elder. That was a pair of solo shots in the 6th. Late in the game, you bring in a position player to pitch because you have to. Absolutely hilarious moment in the game. D. Strange Gordon, you probably know him better as D. Gordon before he added his the first last name. Came into pitch. Travis d'Arnaud is the plate. Gordon hit him with a 52-mile-an-hour pitch, and d'Arnaud had this dramatic flop that would have been the envy of NBA players everywhere. Freaking beautiful flop. Bryce Elder, that was actually his major league debut. He did pick up the win. He only allowed 3 runs, 6 hits, 4 strikeouts, and 5 2/3. Solid outing, honestly, just short of a quality start. Patrick Corbin, he has now lost 7 straight starts to Atlanta. He has not won a start against Atlanta since September 6th of 2019, and he's got a 7.25 ERA over that time. So, needless to say, I love facing Patrick Corbin, and now that I say that, he's probably going to throw a freaking shutout next time. And then in the last, let's just chalk it up now. And then the last game of the series was a 3-1 loss. In this game, Nationals pitching was just tremendous. They only gave up 3 hits and 3 walks for the whole game. Fried a little bit shaky still, 7 hits, 3 runs, although only 2 were earned and 5 1/3. Looked better than his opening day start. But here's the thing with Fried. He is a better second half pitcher than first half pitcher, and that's been consistent for his whole career. So I'm not worried. He'll figure it out. Gray pitched really well for the Nationals. 1 hit, didn't allow a run, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts in 5. Riley provided the only home run for Atlanta, a home run in the 6th. And he had an infield single in the 9th, but then frickin' Ozuna ground into a double play to end the game. Slight injury scare. Fried was struck in the leg by a Nelson Cruz grounder, but he was uninjured and able to keep going. Then Atlanta headed out west because MLB hates Atlanta this year to start this season. Even before the lockout screwed up the schedule, Atlanta, Joe, they opened the year with, 4, 8, 11, I think 15 straight games, something like that, before they have an off day, as they are underway right now in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. Yeah, utter horse crap scheduling to start the season. I'm just gonna say that and leave it there. I'm not making excuses, but what the hell? That's bullshit. All right. So game 1, the Braves got blown out 12-1. Manny Machado, he freaking went off. 5 for 5, 4 runs, 2 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. Eric Hosmer had 4 hits, voided 3 RBIs. And Joe Musgrove. Now this was the Padres home opener. He pitched really well. In 6 2/3, he gave up 4 hits and 6 strikeouts and didn't walk anybody. Charlie Morton struggled, 5 innings, 5 runs, 9 hits, 5 strikeouts, and he hit 2 guys as well. Although he did pick up his 1,500th strikeout, so congratulations to Charlie. Too bad it wasn't with a win. Ozzie Albies had a solo home run in the ninth, and the fielding was dog crap. Rosario made 2 fielding errors. Ozzie made a throwing error. So Atlanta, of those 12 runs allowed, there were 4 unearned runs in that game. Nothing's going to frustrate your pitching staff more than terrible defense and extending these innings that shouldn't be extended. Game 2, Kyle Wright, brilliant again, a 5-2 win. He went 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, and 9 strikeouts, although he got a no decision. All the hitters except for Olson and Swanson had hits, and Olson and Swanson still got on with walks. Riley went 2 for 5 with a double and 2 runs. Duvall went 1 for 4 with a double and 2 RBIs. And Duvall's double, that was in the 8th inning. It was the tie-breaking runs. Machado, still on fire, 3 for 4, double and an RBI. Joe, this is a stat you're not going to see hardly at all in this day and age. Braves pitching for this game, 16 strikeouts to 0 walks. You almost never see that anymore. Jansen picks up his first save with Atlanta, and Mackenzie Gore made his rookie debut for the Padres. His debut did not go as well as Captain Flamethrower with the Reds. 2 runs allowed, 3 hits, 5 1/3, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. He, kind of similar against the Reds. First strikeout was to Ozzie Albies. Later in the game, Ozzie Albies said, nope, not doing that again, and hit a home run off him. Same thing with Olson earlier against the Reds. So that was entertaining at least. Game 3 was a 5-2 win. Ian Anderson location was back, and it showed 5 2/3. He struck out 7 and only walked 1, allowed 2 hits. Swanson's bat finally started to wake up, 2 for 4 with a pair of doubles and a run scored. Ozuna, Olson, and Albies all hit solo homers. For the Padres, Profar and Grisham hit home runs. Machado, they finally freaking figured him out. 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts. Great pitching by the Braves, 11 strikeouts to 1 walk. There should have been one more home run, though. Manny Pena blasted one to center, and Grisham made a tremendous leaping catch on the wall. Hey, it's going to happen. You got to tip your hat to the outfielder on that one. Jansen picked up his second save after that one. And then to end the week, it was pitching. It was hard pitching on Sunday, 2-1 loss. Yu Darvish, man, I wish he was still with Chicago right now, so we didn't face him in that game. 6 2/3, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, no walks. Bryce Elder, great start earlier this week. Not so good that time. Pretty wild. 2 earned runs, 3 hits, 5 walks, and 3 strikeouts in 4 1/3. Spencer Strider, I give him a lot of credit. He came in for 3 2/3 long relief, struck out 3, walked 3. I mean, when you get to that point, a little bit of wildness isn't surprising. Rogers picked up his 4th save already for San Diego. Duvall and Olson had doubles. Ozuna hit the solo home run. Nolan Cronenworth had 2 RBI singles for the Padres. And, hey, Machado went 0 for 4. Riley went 0 for 3. The 2 big guys that usually help move those lineups weren't doing anything. My thoughts, again, it's early. This is not the long-term lineup for Atlanta. Once Acuna's back, he's going to go right back in the leadoff. And, it's going to shift everybody back. He'll probably help everybody out, to be completely honest with you. Matt Olson, holy crap, that dude's been everything we were hoping for. Ozuna looks like he's back in 2020 form. Riley's cooling down a little bit, but he's still getting good ball striking and high MPH off the bat. So, honestly, Joe, what Atlanta's lineup's reminding me right now is Freddie last year in April, when Freddie was smashing the ball all over the place, but there was a fielder there every time to catch it. And look, Freddie still got back up to 298 by the end of the year. So I'm not worried about Atlanta's lineup. It's still early. Everybody's going to be fine. The pitching, a lot of stuff looked better. I'm not happy with getting blown out twice that last week. Here's my thing. I am not at all convinced of Huascar Yanoa being a starter long-term. He's basically a fastball slider pitcher, and you cannot survive in MLB as a 2-pitch pitcher as a starter. But that said, Kyle Wright, pleasant surprise, and Acuna is starting his AAA rehab assignment tomorrow. So, hey, things are moving. Any other thoughts for Atlanta, Joe?
you brought up Yanoa. I'm curious because this is his second start, I think, that he's not really been effective in both starts so far this year. And I wonder how much of that goes back to last year and in the postseason and rearranging your rotation to not give him an opportunity to pitch in the postseason. Um, Not that it matters because you won the series, but um, did that do some detriment to him as a player in developing? Did that do some detriment to him with the short spring training to not really get up to speed? I don't think. I think you're right. Most pitchers don't make it long term as a starter. So I do think that's a concern for them. Um, and I wonder again. I wonder how much of the mess goes back to last year and some of the issues there. It doesn't help that they don't have some of those other guys. I think offensively they're fine right now. Acuna is going to make them, better and push them over the edge. Hopefully, at least offensively. And I hope that he has a really good bounce back year when he does come back. It'll be interesting to see just how good he is when he comes back. But like you said, it's too early to freak out, and I think um, these East Coast West Coast trips are getting a little ridiculous already. Cubs were in Pittsburgh, and then they were in Colorado, and then they were back home today with no day off. And Tampa, this is really weird. Tampa Bay was in playing the White Sox in town over the weekend, and all they had to do was go the other side of town to play the Cubs for this week. So you have teams like that who are getting a really convenient schedule, and then you have teams like ours that are going from East Coast to Mountain or West Coast and then back. It's a little ridiculous
Yeah,
scheduling wise. I mean, I think honestly, I think MLB would do a lot of good if they would stay south and west for most of April,
yeah,
like college baseball does, where they play February and March in Florida, pretty much. I think that would really help the game a bit. I think you have a lot of pitchers who have struggled here this first 2 weeks. For me, Stroman in particular, who relies on a lot of braking and a lot of movement, and you're not going to get that at altitude, and you're not going to get that when it's 30 degrees out. I think that's a bit of an issue that Major League Baseball has yet to fix.
yeah. It's the scheduling baffles me every year. What permutations, computations they do to come up with it. Every single year, I'm like, this does. There's at least 3 or 4 teams where I'm like, the hell. I mean, look at Atlanta and the Mets September. Like those two teams have two of the absolute worst September schedules I have seen in a very long time. Atlanta's basically playing almost the straight through and a ton of road games, a ton of West. Like they have to go out to, like they're home for. They've got the Rockies ending, and then they've got 3 at the Marlins, and a day off, and then they're out in the West Coast. They've got 2 with Oakland, 3 at Seattle, 3 at San Francisco, day off, 3 at home with Philly, 3 at home with the Nats. 4 on the road with Philly, 3 on the road with the Nats, and then 3 at home for the Mets. Like, what is this garbage?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mess, I think, but um,
Why another
what
West
did
Coast? Like, why don't we do a better job of grouping and blocking these damn coast for the teams that are on the East and the West, just to make it easier for both sets? Do a better job of having. There shouldn't be this much back and forth. Like, do
no,
most of your West Coast at once, do most of your East Coast at once, and then call it. This is dumb.
I mean, I guarantee you the folks in the Marlins would rather play in DC, Philly, and Queens in September than they would rather play there in August. They were playing Florida in August and September. I mean, they would rather play those games in New York and DC and Philly than play there.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, let's move on to the hot players. All right, my hot hitters for this past week. I've got Starling Marte. He had a 292, 346, 542 slash line. He had 8 runs scored, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. I have Jose Ramirez of the Guardians, which still doesn't sound right to say, especially with the most juvenile minor league logo you could have come up with. Ramirez, 478, 519, 913 slash line. He had 3 runs, 2 homers, 11 RBIs, 11 hits, 2 doubles, and a triple. Also 2 walks, no strikeouts. I've got Trey Turner, 6 runs, a homer, 6 RBIs, 2 steals, 360, 390, 560 slash line, along with 9 hits, a triple, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. I have Marcell Ozuna from Atlanta, 333, 333, 767 slash line, 5 runs, 4 home runs, 6 RBIs, 10 singles, and a double. And then my last one was Bryce Harper, a 269, 375, 615 slash line, 6 runs, 2 homers, 8 RBIs, and a stolen base to go 7 hits and 3 doubles. And then honestly, my 2 just off the cusp, Ozzy Albies, Manny Machado. Holy crap, they had tremendous weeks, as did Jesus Sanchez and Jazz Chisholm. Anybody else for you on the hot hitter list?
No, you pretty much hit them all. I mean, Chisholm had probably one of the best weeks of his career, I think.
Yeah,
last
no
week
doubt
it
about
was incredible. You know, we talked about him a bunch under the Cubs, but Suzuki has been lights out. Really disciplined at the plate. It's been fun to watch. NL Player of the Week for the week last week. Well deserved, and it's a joy to watch him play baseball. So you hit pretty much all the top hitters. One player I'd like to point out defensively, Alonso made some nice plays in the Mets series over the weekend, as if to shoot my prediction in the foot early on here. And the other guy, Reese McGuire with the White Sox. He's the catcher for them behind Grandal, and he was catching on Friday. Hendricks was in there closing the game and did a masterful job behind the plate, blocking curveballs and sliders and everything else. Really just impressive. I look for big things from him. So
yeah, absolutely, good picks. For pitchers, I have Alek Manoah of the Blue Jays, a guy whose name I didn't think I'd be calling this early on. He picked up 2 wins and 2 quality starts, 13 strikeouts, 12 innings, a 150 ERA, and a .92 WHIP. I had Andrew Heaney of the Dodgers. He had picked up a win this week, 16 strikeouts, 10 and a third, 0 ERA, .68 WHIP. Clayton Kershaw, how could we not after that clusterfuck from Dave Roberts, which we already touched on. I have Nestor Cortes again. I couldn't not put him on there. 9 innings, 17 strikeouts, .75 WHIP. He only allowed 6 hits in that time. That's freaking incredible in 2 starts. And I also had Verlander this week. He did pick up his win in his only start, 8 2/3, 8 strikeouts, a 0 ERA and a .38 WHIP. Or did he have 2 starts? No, he only had 1 start this week. All right, Joe, who is the adulting reliever of the week?
So we've got a couple of them here. Jordan Romano for the Blue Jays, and this is the weekend, opening weekend, so it's like 10-day window here. 6 for 6 in save opportunities, 6 innings pitched, so effective and efficient. 3 hits, no runs, a walk, 6 strikeouts, a .67 WHIP, and a 150 batting average against. Taylor Rogers for the Padres, 4 for 4 in save opportunities, 4 innings, 1 hit, no runs, .25 WHIP, and a 0.77 batting average against. Really impressive stuff from these 2 guys. barred for Colorado. He gave up some runs, but still, he was 4 of 5 in save opportunities, had a win too, um, all in 5 innings of work, 5 hits, 2 runs. So he was impressive too, and I got to see some of him live over the weekend. Yeah, those are the top 3 at the moment for
All
me
right.
this week.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
My hot teams for right now, I've got the Blue Jays, the White Sox, the Angels, the Mets, the Cardinals, and the Dodgers and Giants, because I feel like I'm going to be calling those 2 names a lot, just like last season. Do you have any additions or subtractions for your hot team list?
No, I think, like you said, the Giants and Dodgers are going to be on this list most of the year. Um, you know, I there's really again, it's we're not overblowing anything, but I think obviously these guys are going to be fixtures there, and I think you've hit them pretty well there.
Yeah.
I mean, the Marlins winning 3, was it 3 or 4 or
3 or 4.
3? So that's a huge start for them. I think that's impressive as well. So
Yeah. All right, looking upcoming for our 3 clubs this week. Braves, 3 at the Dodgers, then finally a frickin' day off for the first time since before the season started, and then 3 at home against the Marlins, which, trepidation city. So our pitching matchups, it versus Kershaw. I do not feel good about this one. Fried versus Bueller, that's going to be entertaining to watch. And Morton versus Gonsolin, that's also going to be a good one. And then coming home, Wright versus Rogers, I will happily take that. Anderson versus Hernandez, and Elder versus Luzardo. Thank God we missed Alcantara. Thank God for that. Cubbies
don't
this
worry,
week.
he'll get you later in the year.
Oh, I did. No doubt about it. No freaking doubt about that one bit. Cubbies decided that they have to play all 7 games this week. 3 versus the Rays. You got Hendricks versus McClanahan, Steele versus Fleming, and Stroman versus Rasmussen. 4 versus the Pirates, TBA versus Wilson, Smiley versus Quintana, Hendricks versus Thompson, Steele versus Brubaker. This is going to be an interesting week for you guys. You might really need the Pirates to help bolster things back up if the Rays pitching comes in hot.
Yeah, right now it's Cubs 3-2 in the bottom of the 8th. So I'm hoping that they pull this one out. Hendricks is usually one that I try to count on, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm super high on Justin Steele, so I think between him and Thompson, if they can keep this train running, that'll be impressive and fun to watch. And Stroman, I expect Stroman to get back to his normal self here this week. I think the weather, the altitude, all that junk in Colorado, and just not really being able to locate. And he owned it too. He was like, I just need to be better. He didn't try to blame it on all of that stuff. He's like, I just need to be better.
Yeah.
He's a guy who wants to be the ace of the staff at some point, or ace level staff, from a pitching standpoint. And he wants to be that. So he's really embraced the Cub culture. I expect him to do well and rebound this week. I'm hoping playing in Wrigley cushions the blow of this week a bit with the Rays series, and makes this Pirates series a good one for us. I'm hoping to see Smiley continue to do what he did this week. I'll take it as long as I can get it. I don't know how long I'll get it, but I'll take it.
I will say this, it's just like watching a pitcher the 3rd time through the lineup and getting better. We saw it last year. You remember when the Braves and the Phillies had the 2 series run together early on. Start 1, Wheeler just dominated Atlanta, and start 2, Atlanta turned around. We're like, oh, we just saw you. We know what you're going to do, and they crushed him. So I hope I do hope he pitches well. I mean, I appreciate what he did for us last year, and I'm so damn glad I don't see him in an Atlanta uniform anymore. You did get the right pitching matchup to face the Rays, though, so hopefully that should help a little bit too. And then the Phillies are following in the Cubbies' footsteps, as they've got 3 on the road at Colorado. Nola versus Cole, Gibson versus Freeland, Eflin versus Marquez. I'm going to take Marquez in that one. The others, I'm not sure. I'd have to look them up, but I know Marquez is pretty solid usually. And then come back home for 3 versus the Brewers: Suarez versus Peralta, Wheeler versus Hauser, and Nola versus Ashby. Man, it's weird seeing Ashby up there and it's not Andy Sr. That's just odd, man. Anytime
Yeah,
I see Ashby, that's always who I think of as dad, not son.
the struggles the Phillies have had last week and the way the Rockies were scoring 6, 7 runs every single game over the weekend, this series could be really bad for the Phils. I think. I hope not for Jason's sake, but it could be. Nola has not gotten off on the right foot yet. Um,
Uh,
Gibson's a mixed bag.
Nola hasn't been right since 2020.
Yeah,
Honestly.
yeah. So I mean, I'm hoping that Ranger Suarez bounces back and has a good start here later in the week for them.
Yeah.
I expect that Brewers series to be more friendly to them than the Rockies series. The Brewers
Crazy
don't
as
have
it
the
sounds.
offensive firepower and they don't have the altitude to help.
Yeah. I mean, the Rockies are hot right now. I didn't put them on the hot list. They didn't quite crack for me, but
Yeah.
they're on a good roll right now. So the Phillies pitching needs to get itself together pretty quickly out there. All right, Joe, anything else for this past week 2 of the season?
Not this past week, but another series that I'm really looking at here at the beginning of the week
Mhm.
is Mets Giants. Uh, Game 1 got bumped today. It's at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Um, the pitching matchups these first 3 games: Cobb and McGill, Webb, Scherzer, and the third game Wednesday, Rodon and Bassett.
Ooh.
There's a fourth game, but I can't remember who's pitching in that. Let me see if I can get that quick. But
Ooh.
that's a series I'm looking forward um, to seeing how that plays out for them. The fourth matchup is DeSclafani and Carrasco.
Ooh.
So this is that's a
That's
good series. That's
juicy.
going to be a good preview of what's to come for these guys, both teams.
Yeah, I'm liking that. I might actually have to turn that one on and watch it a little bit this week. All right, guys. So you can find our audio recordings on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Amazon Music, and Spreaker. You can see us live on our YouTube channel, on Facebook Live, and on Twitter. You can find our merchandise at www.redbubble.com/people/DDAB-podcast. Follow us on the Facebook page, facebook.com/dollardogsandbeer. On our Twitter page at DDAB_podcast. You can find all of us on Twitter. I'm at PyroLord314. Jason's at JRicker300. Joe is at JoltonJoe35. And we are presented by Dark Arrow Podcast LLC, and we are sponsored by the awesome Whiskey and Blade Barbershop in Lidditz. Johnny, I will be in probably next week. It's getting pretty bad, buddy. May your dogs always cost $1. May your beer always be cold. Have a good night, everyone.